All right, we're going to switch gears here. I've got a guy on the line I've been wanting to talk to for a while. His name is Joseph Travers, and he's a member of the Human Trafficking Information Exchange Group. And this is someone who's doing some of the most important work imaginable. He's the executive director of Saved in America, and his group is what they're doing is they're locating missing children and victims of sexual exploitation. This is heroic stuff, Joseph. It's so great to have you on the broadcast. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your
Oh,
group?
not at all. Not at all. Thank you and good morning. What we are is we're a group of former special operators, Navy SEALs, Marine Raiders. We have one SAS member from Britain, former police officers who come together as licensed private investigators. We're all volunteers. And what we do is we, for free, assist law enforcement and parents to find the missing children across the country.
Wow. Wow. So the website, savedinamerica.org, very easy, big donate button right at the top. I will be donating later on to this group because I believe in this cause. Tell me about the process. Tell me about your background. And again, these are, as you said, special operators, Navy SEALs. What type of skills does it take to do the work that you're doing? And how do you even go about it? It's just stunning stuff.
Yeah, well, my background is obviously police investigation and private investigation. And the motivation for us to do this is as a founder, I was listening to a young girl named Brittany Drexel from upstate New York that went missing, and I was wondering what happened. And I knew from working narcotics in Los Angeles that there formed what we'll call an evil triad of street gang members, prison gang members, and the cartel that took over the narcotics trafficking trade in this country. Well, around that time, 2009, this same triad decided to take over child sex trafficking. Well, right after that, I read an article about United States Navy SEALs overseas rescuing children. So I got a hold of these guys, and I said, hey, why don't you come out here, and we'll put cops together with special operators, and for free, we'll go help find these children. So we put together a 6-step process. Basically, the first is parental contact, where we get a hold of the parents, get a power of attorney, get some intelligence, get that over to our tech ops division, which is social networking investigation. And that's really how we first get our first leads to solve the problem, because the way kids are taken in this country, it's not like the movie Taken. What they do is these gang members and gang member recruiters lure young girls through social networking away from their home and ply them up with drugs up to and including heroin. And that's how they traffic our children.
Wow. Wow. Scary. So how did they walk us through the process of how people are recruited? I don't think that's the right word for it, but I'm trying to, how they get entangled in these webs. What are the biggest threats, big picture, to our kids right now?
Yeah, well, it's coercion would be a better word. Is they're coerced, and what would happen? For example, there was a study out here in San Diego County where there's at least one gang member recruiter or trafficker that's a recruiter for the traffickers in every middle school and high school here in this county. So what they do is they look for a young girl who might be going through some type of trauma, like a divorce, a death in the family, a breakup with a friend or something. And then what they do is they befriend the child and then use social networking and social networking applications and to have conversations with the child that the parent has no idea. And then one day the parent goes to get their child to take them to school, and the child's gone. They're missing. And what it appears to the normal police officer is that it's a runaway. But in fact, the answer lies in the social networking of the child, that she was seduced outside of the family, and that's how they traffic them.
And so social media plays a huge component, and I know you're staffed up with social media and social networking experts and investigators. I mean, this is a brave new world in terms of a treacherous minefield for our young, impressionable people, and it just seems like this is a component that it seemed to have caught on with the criminals more quickly than it caught on with the public in terms of how to deal with this new technology.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. They use this technology because what we're talking about, and I'm glad you used the word criminals because they're actually worse than that. They're organized criminals that
Sure.
have no value on human life. Everything's a commodity for them. It's all about making a dollar.
Yeah, it is all about that's exactly right. And so you've got a savedinamerica.org if you want to donate, and you should. And you were a veteran of the Navy. You have a law enforcement background, so you have a lot of skills in this regard. And it's an operation that I think is something that we need more of these. We need more people like you, because it does seem like, and you guys have saved hundreds of children at this point, it does seem like this is going to be a bigger and bigger problem as we move into this age where we have open borders and we have more e-commerce. And it seems like whatever the organized criminals, they adapt to their surroundings and they come up with new tactics. And so how do you stay on your toes to be on guard against this?
We have, like I said, we do have a tech ops division of social networking investigators who do, go into the background of the internet for us. And we do, when we go on operations, the flyer drones and all that good high-tech stuff. But I hear what you're saying, and this is a problem across the country. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, there's about 300,000 missing children in our country at any one time. Now, if you take another statistic that 30 to 40% of these 300,000 children are being trafficked. We're talking 100,000 children in our country are being sex trafficked. They're being enslaved by organized crime.
So walk us through the process. I take an example of a typical test case of someone who was an ordinary child, and then they get caught up into this, and then all of a sudden they're a sex slave. Walk us through the timeline.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll use a true life case. There's a young girl, 14 years old, in Nevada. And she was having some home life problems, a situation in the home. Nothing major, just a trauma. It appeared to be trauma for her at 14. So a gang member, we found out later, 29-year-old gang member affiliated with the Mexican mafia, got a hold of her and her social networking through one of her friends, and saw that the young girl was posting her problems and befriended her, unbeknownst to mom. And this person lured her and said, you need to come with me. I'll take care of you. And all these promises, grandeur, how much, affection he had for her, et cetera, et cetera. So one day the mom went to go take the 14-year-old to school. Window was open and she was gone. He had plied her up with drugs, taken her down to Mexico, and we had to find her in Mexico and coordinate her rescue. And then now he's in jail, ready to go to trial on federal charges. But that's basically the typical scenario. The parent had no idea. When the police patrolman pulled up to take the missing report, they asked, Mom, do you know what happened? Do you know why your daughter left? And righteously, the mother had no idea, because the answer, again, was on social networking.
Wow. And so the parents were totally in the dark on this and preoccupied with their own stuff. How do you go about tracking down the guy?
Well, that's our social networking gurus. They go in, and I don't want to give our trade secrets out. Not that I'll be
sure. No, yeah, absolutely not. That's
your
not,
show.
Yeah, of course.
Basically, what we do is we do what we call a matrix. So we go backwards from all the social networking that's involved with the child to friends and friends of friends and friends, and we matrix this whole complete thing out. And then what we do is we use geomapping to figure out where the girl is and who she's with. And once we do that, we send our guys out to do workable intelligence, confirm leads, and then once we get leads confirmed, we do a surveillance in coordination with local, state, or federal law enforcement to let them know, what we're doing every step of the way. We actually download all our information. We have a case manager, happens to be my son Joshua Travers, who's a Charlottesville, Virginia police officer, and he preserves this evidence to share with law enforcement. And we also civilly, we have an attorney on staff to sue the bad guy. So once we do that, we do a long-term surveillance till we get eyes on the child, and then we bring in law enforcement to actually recover the child.
Okay, so with me right now is Joseph Travers. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, he's the executive director of a group called Saved in America that helps rescue children from human trafficking. I'm going to ask him two questions. I'm going to ask him preventive measures, things you can do to keep an eye on your own kids, to make sure that they don't get caught up into something like this. And then I'm going to ask him a little bit about what are the biggest threats right now as the world is changing so quickly in this kind of rapid era of technology development. What are the biggest threats? And I'm going to ask him another couple questions as well. Go over to savedinamerica.org. Alex Marlowe here, Breitbart News Daily. We'll be right back. All right, thanks to Connor and Jenna working the show today from our New York studios. Thanks to Paul D'Amelio and Greg Eben, our producers. Ian Hanchett helps us pull clips. Let's go right back to Joseph Travers, Executive Director of Saved in America, savedinamerica.org. If you want to contribute, help save children from human trafficking. So I got about 2 minutes. I got two questions for you, Joseph. Number one, what is the biggest threats right now facing families? And number two is what do we do to keep our kids safe?
Well, number one, for families, you really, the family unit needs to pull themselves together and know what's happening with their child. And, their social networking, what they do, who they hang out with, and who they're communicating with. I mean, that's the most formal thing you have to do is know this. And I know it's difficult because we're talking about, generation gaps with social networking and technology. But that's just so important. One of the bigger threats also is these gangs. I mean, we're talking the problem in child sex trafficking is the narco traffickers. These are
the narco traffickers.
Yes, exactly.
And that connects, we at Breitbart, we cover the open border a lot. Is there a connection there?
There's a huge connection. If you see these routes for child sex trafficking, the second largest child sex trafficking corridor sector is San Diego County because the largest trafficking sector is San Diego County. Texas. So
you're with me that a secure border is actually a humanitarian thing because it does keep kids safer.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Joseph Travers, amazing work. Saved in America is the organization. And it's so important that you guys go to savedinamerica.org and donate. Great. And if you're a law enforcement veteran, maybe drop him a line and maybe he could use you one day. We have a big law enforcement audience. Joseph, well done, my friend. A real life hero. Thanks so much for joining me on Breitbart News Daily.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you very much.